Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hardcore Metal Detecting Radio Show. I'm Derek Asklar. Mr. Craig Talley's on the line. We'll be hosting the show tonight. Just going to have open lines tonight. A couple topics we wanted to talk about that we were discussing before the show, and we'll kind of go through those here in a little bit. But if you'd like to call in with a topic or what have you, just give us a call at 352-504-4170. And you can get through like that, or you can get right on to chat. And I already see Robert on there, and Erie from Virginia is on there. On the chat line there, just go to the Hardcore Metal Detecting Radio Show there on Spreaker.com and hit the comment button, and you can get right on the live chat. And I can see Mark Hoover's already on tonight, too. But anyway, yeah, just still more of the same down here. Hot and rainy, and today wasn't too bad, but of course I had to run around like crazy, Craig. So I'm going to try to get out tomorrow. I think I'm going to head over. I got another property I wanted to try to do. It's more shaded instead of being out in that direct sunlight and stuff like that for too long. That way maybe I can get about, good 4 or 5 hours hunting in before I get totally drained. Well, I know you're dealing with the same thing. A lot of people are around the country right now. This heat, it'd take a lot out of you. So I just can't wait for the fall to get here. Only about another, couple months of this, and then we can get back to the kind of hunting we love to do in the fall, right? So
yeah, we've had all this rain, and then this morning it's 85 degrees by 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, it was so humid. You could just feel your legs sweating through your pants. Just not even really moving around much outside.
Yeah,
but,
I know exactly what you're saying about that.
We got up to about, I guess, 92 or something, but that's as hot as I've seen it. Last year we got, I think 94 was about the hottest we ever saw.
Yeah, it's us. With us, it's more the humidity, I guess, down here. It just, like you were talking about sweating through your pants when you walk outside. And, we can do that. And
a lot of Virginia is just nothing but humid.
Yeah. I go outside and it's
this
like...
This area isn't quite as bad. Most of it was from all the water in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But, so pretty crazy weather. I talked to a lot of locals, and they haven't seen rain like this in, like 20 years or something.
Yeah, you guys are going to get a lot of it.
Remember, this much rain. But I went into weather statistics. You can basically put in any town and find out all kinds of statistics.
Right.
And they had this one graph that showed the dry and the wet season,
mm-hmm.
and all kinds of different, like when the peak is and how much they've got, what the record is and what the low is, and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Not to change the subject. Oh, go ahead, Craig. Just go ahead, and I'll talk about it in a minute.
You can type any city or town or county, and it'll give you the information.
Oh yeah.
So
good. Yeah, good to see all that, anyways. Because I know we've been getting rain, but it's still not back to the way Florida usually is. Florida from 15 years ago, where you could set your clock by the rain every day and everything. We're getting it. We're just getting it at different times of the day. It seems like. But yeah, I just reading on here. Erie from Virginia just put on there. He broke a wire in his Killer Bee headphones right next to the plug.
Really?
Is it? You're talking about the 1/4-inch jack that plugs into the back of your detector, Erie, or are you talking about right where it connects into the headphones? If you could, if you put it on chat there, because I have a fix for you, I think. Maybe. We'll see. I'm good at tinkering with stuff, so I had it happen to my Sunray Golds. I broke a wire, like it was inside the headphone, but it was where it comes out of the backside of the headphone right there. But I had to actually cut the wire, re-strip them down, and I made it so I could solder the wires together. A little bit of wire left in there. I actually soldered the wires together and put that shrink. I'm going to call it shrink tape. It's not tape. It's like a little tube you put over the wire, and you hit it with a little bit of heat, and it shrinks around the wire. It pretty much keeps any kind of moisture or anything else from getting in there or making any contact with other wires. It sounds more difficult than it is, but it's rather easy. You probably wouldn't even have to solder the wires. That's what I did. So on mine. It's worked good ever since. Sometimes these wires, that's a stress point, and it doesn't take much sometimes to break them, even with really good headphone wires. Because I don't know, I have killer bees, and I tell you what, Craig, really, I've dropped those things, and go to take them off and drop them. They hit the concrete floor in the shop and everything else. And I've been pretty fortunate. I haven't broken them. I haven't bent anything on them, like the knob or the knobs for the volume or anything. But they've been really durable.
Yeah, I like the jack where it's like shaped like an L, so it takes the stress off. I that's what I messed up so many pairs of headphones over the years. But it was right there where it bends just above that plastic, and it's it's probably a little bit sharp inside in that plastic too.
Well,
and over time, I used to go out, a lot metal detecting, for years. I'd go out every weekend, all day long, and I'd go through maybe one or two but maybe every 2 years. We used to use Caltex. They were like $20 over at the regimental headquarters over there in Fredericksburg. But they were cheap and they worked, and they had the dual volume controls. So, but nowadays, like I paid, I think over $125 for around $125 for those Killer Bee Ultimas. They're Ultima Wasp, I guess.
Yeah.
Those are probably 4 or 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
At least 4.5 years old, I would have to say, and they look brand new almost. I mean, there's not.
Yeah,
they're probably the best headphones I've ever used. I had some cost ones that I used for a while. They had good sound, but I didn't like the way the cord was. Some of the cords back in the old days used to tangle up all the time. It seems like these newer ones, they don't tangle up like, it used to be they would tangle up just if you looked at them wrong.
Yeah. By the way, guys, I've been, and Bill Marsh just put on there, I keep on calling them Erie for whatever reason. And it isn't L, it's Earl, and I'm sorry, Earl. I butcher names all the time, but I can't believe I did that. Just the I and the L, you know what I mean? I was looking at it, and I have these bifocal. I don't know. I'm getting old as dirt, but anyway, got these bifocals, and sometimes, actually, if I don't really need reading glasses at all, I can't see far, is what it is. My vision when I'm reading is really good. It's actually better than most, but they made these glasses for me. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to read stuff with my glasses on if I didn't have the bifocal. But at any rate, I actually see better without them, so I just took them off, and I see it is Earl. I've been calling him Erie for a couple months now. I don't know. I'm from Erie, Pennsylvania originally, so a little town south of it, but that's where I came up with it at.
Yeah,
but,
he's just down the road from me.
Yeah. I just, didn't mean to call him by the wrong name. At least I can call you a bad name. That's a good thing. So, but anyway, that I think it's a 90-degree angle plug, and I actually get those for all of any time I get headphones, anytime I get anything for stereo. I don't know. I don't care what it is. I always get those 90-degree angle ones if I can do it, or if they offer them, because that is a stress point. That was actually somewhat of a problem with any of the detectors that I've used, underwater detectors and stuff like that, where you've actually disconnect the control boxes. The same situation can happen with the coax cables. I remember like the Beach Hunter ID or even the Bliss tool. If you decide to hip mount it or chest mount it like I've done before, I don't really do it anymore because it just didn't see a need to it. It's so light, but you can chest mount it and everything. But you get that, you got to be careful of the stress point right there where that coil wire goes into the coil or into the back of the machine. That's going to be a natural, if you start yanking back and forth or catching on something, you got to make sure you don't you're essentially breaking the wire inside. And this happened to one of our users. Actually, he had the coil cable so tight wrapped around the shaft of his detector, and then he was using a Bliss tool, but he actually ran it instead of going up by the handle at all, up through the S curve, he had a straight line from the mid shaft to the control box. Well, he had it so tight that when he fell one time, and there was no noticeable damage by the connection, it was actually broken inside the coax. I'm calling it coax cable, right where that bridge is, where he had stretched it across. And I couldn't do anything with it other than replace the coil cable. I don't like to do that with ours because I think it messes with the tuning of the coil too. It's between the coil and the machine, so I just replaced the coil for him. But yeah, it's these stress points on any electronics. For all my DJ equipment and all that stuff, it's always the 90-degree angle connectors. If I can possibly get them, just to eliminate some of those problems. So. But yeah, I never did see. I think he said he broke the wire. But yeah, you could just tape those off, solder them, or even use a little bit of shrink tubing. They sell it at the auto parts store. It's a couple dollars for a package of a bunch of them, and you just slide it over the wire, and you can even wrap it. Strip the wire and you wrap it, and then slide that over top of it. This is going to keep it from making any kind of connection or anything. It should work fine. I mean, I've never had it. Unless you've damaged something else, you know what I mean? You don't know until you open it up and really take a look at it. So if that helps you out, saves you a couple dollars on buying a new set of headphones. But Craig, you were talking about, we were talking.
If they're new, you might check with the people you got them from.
Oh yeah, I think he said they were, I'm trying to see where he said they were. Yeah, they're Killer Bees are lifetime warranty on them, I believe. Yeah, that's what Mark Hoover said too. Craig, you can look that up if you wanted to, or somebody can. But I'm pretty sure that even Sunray Golds, I think, have I think it's a lifetime warranty on them too, if I'm not mistaken, unless they change that. But yeah, I mean, you might be able to just give them a call or whatever. It probably wouldn't be that much.
I got mine from Treasure Mountain, and I asked Ed Huffman. I told him I'm rough on headphones, and I'm a relic hunter, and what he suggests for the Bliss tool, and that's what he suggested, and I've been super happy with them ever since. I mean,
yeah,
never had a problem with them.
Yeah, Don at North Georgia Relic had them
quality.
too. I was just going to say, a lot. You can get these at several places. Treasure Mountain and North Georgia Relics has them. I think Sirius Detecting has them. I think all the prices are pretty fair on them too. I mean it.
Well, they got I think a range of different ones.
Right. I've always suggested the ones with the volume controls on either side. Believe it or not, it does come in handy. You have a capability of doing a few more different things, and I've been doing a little bit of testing with that myself by turning up the volume on the machine, but turning it down by the headphones, trying to do different things to see if I can get better response or pick up like these whisper tones a little bit better, if that works or not. I mean, I think it is, but I haven't got I can't really show it in a video or whatever. It's kind of hard to tell the sound-wise of the nuances in it. But some of the things you can, try with those where you have your machine on and you don't have volume adjustment on your headphones. You got to keep on looking at it, depending on what machine you have, and keep on messing with it, where you can just reach up with your hand and turn them. So I like having that on there. They have, some of them have Craig, what would you call it? Not dynamic. It enables you to hear a little bit more. They get a little bit more sensitive. They used to be on a lot of the older headphones, so like the it was like a Depthmaster or something. I used to have a little box that would amplify the sound. Right.
It had a little knob that you could turn it up or down, and it would amplify the sound basically. So a whisper sound would come through a little bit more.
Right. It's actually a good idea. I don't think they do that very much anymore. Maybe the Gray Ghost do. I think maybe the Sunray Golds. I have to look at it. I never really used the Sunray Golds that much with the Bliss tool.
I used a Bounty Hunter one time. It had a boost switch or something, and you just click the switch, and I thought that was pretty cool. You could just a
little bit more extra, accessory kind of thing.
That was about 30 years ago.
Yeah. I think the Killer Bees, maybe it's a mute that it has on them. I never really understood the mute thing. I just pull them off my ears, but maybe it's a mute, or maybe it's a God, man, my worst with words I'm trying to find. Almost like a noise canceller, Craig, or something like that too. It may be the same kind of thing we're talking about, but just almost like a threshold. I think is the way it worked on one set of my headphones, where you could actually you're tuning out the background almost, the static, or not the static, but you know what I'm saying, the ambient sound a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just.
I had some headphones at one time. They were Fisher headphones, and they had aluminum speakers in them, and they had this boost, but it also had something that every sound that came back was the same. Mm-hmm. Same volume, but it would boost the low tones. I mean, the lower sounds up, and then it would kind of, it wouldn't allow like a real loud sound to get any louder. It would kind of keep it the same. But it was kind of strange, but it worked as far as hearing low. I used to use them with the Fisher and the Tesoros, mm-hmm. and I went by sound mostly anyway. So to me it really did good. I used them on I think the Tesoro Bandito was one of the machines I used the most on, but they kind of were real light, but they were sturdily built, and they fit right over your ears real good.
I think I had a set that, actually a buddy of mine gave them to me, and this has been a couple of years ago, and I was still using my White's machine, and I was using Sunrays, and he gave me this set, and I for whatever reason I used them that the rest of that day just to check them out. I almost liked them better. I believe they were, and Craig, they were probably from the 90s or early 90s. I'm thinking maybe a Garrett or a White's or maybe a Mindlab too. I don't know, just a regular stock headphones. And they actually had a bassy, like the Sunray Golds, every headphone has is it a modulation I'm thinking about, Craig, or a difference in the sound itself, where it can be a lower sound, a lower tone. That's what happened with this particular set of headphones. It actually, the tone came out more bassy, more reverb or something in it. It was helping me a lot distinguish out stuff in a trashy area with I think it was with the MXT. Maybe it was with Spectre V3, but anyway, so the White's machine. And it was really helping me pick out more nuance in what I was hearing. I didn't know how to explain it back then, but since we're using a Bliss tool and all this other stuff with as far as these tones and sounds, and it was actually really nice to hear that bassier, lower signal coming in through the headphones. It was actually the headphones that were doing that, where it sounded pretty much normal.
The quality of the headphones is just like in a stereo. You can tell the difference,
right,
between real expensive stuff and the just the middle of the line stuff. It's a big difference in the sound.
Yeah, it was just like it surprised me that I liked it better, because they were probably like maybe I'm gonna say $40 headphones back in the 90s, which was $40-$50 was kind of a little bit more back then, or you get more for your money, or it seemed like. So I was kind of surprised about that the Sun, I just happened to like them. Now on the other detectors I've used. I think I used them on the Bliss tool once, but it was shortly after that something broke inside of them. But they were like, 20 years old, we'll say. But the Sunrays is what I've, always went with. And then, Craig turned me on to these Killer Bees. I didn't know if I was going to like them or not, but I enjoy them. They're very durable. I like the way they feel good. They fit all the way over your ear and everything. And I don't know, I think I get pretty good sound out of them. Of course, they're detecting headphones. I'm sure that like there's several kinds. There's so many different kinds of headphones. Some like metal detectors, but if you stick with a name brand, usually you do pretty good. Whether Mindlab or White's or whatever. I mean, if they have their own headphones, they're usually pretty good. But if they're the stand aboves, are probably Killer Bees, Sunray Golds, Grey Ghost. I'm trying to think of some other brands. But then you have a whole nother realm for the wireless. Like the Deus has, really good wireless headphones. The Quest, they're using Detecnics it's built into the machine, so I can't really say. But the ones they have for it are very good. I don't notice a lag to them at all. And it's actually, I believe, using FM as far as the wireless. Sometimes with the Bluetooth, there's a little bit of a lag depending on what brand. And I think they've kind of solved that for the most part. nowadays. But
Well, they're improving the speed of Bluetooth.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Bluetooth 4, I think, that Apple uses now. It's even faster, but it may be, going across the whole spectrum of different, products. I don't know.
Right. Now, I did use them on, the Whites had their own brand, and I can't remember the name of them now, but they went, with the Spectre V3. You could buy the wireless, rechargeable, whatever headphones. And I did have a set of those with that machine, and I did like them. They always linked up. If I was hunting by somebody else that was using the same detector, same brand of detector, I can actually off-channel them, offset them, so they didn't interfere with each other. The only thing I did notice, it was only after I used a pair of wired headphones. Never really noticed it when I was using the machine, but with the wireless headphones. But there was a lag. But I'm sure they've taken care of that because that's been almost 10 years ago. So I'm almost positive they upgraded all that stuff in there. But I didn't, you don't really notice it, I guess, Craig, unless you've used. I've never used wireless headphones before at that time, so. Going to the wired, I'd notice big time. Okay, there is a lag. I noticed this sounds better, when I'm using the wired ones. And I guess I've always gone with that because we had wireless headphones for the Bliss tool, and they just weren't on the same level as what I wanted. And I didn't, they're not, they weren't stepped up enough, not heavy duty enough. They did their job, but you can't have thin wires, like earbud wires. Because it's going to break easy as soon as you get into the branches and in the woods or something like that. So, but yeah, there is a difference. I think they've kind of pretty much solved that by now, I would think, Craig. I mean, do you notice one with the Deus? Is there any lag at all?
No,
yeah, because I know you've used that machine quite a bit.
Those are the craziest headphones. I mean,
they're good. I mean,
tiny.
Yeah.
And they go behind your head, and a lot of people don't like them like that. They want the muffs, but I actually like them. So they sit on your ears, but they don't pinch or push.
Right.
It's like it's just they sit right there, and you can hear outside noise around you at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not. You know how like today when it's humid, 90% humidity and 90 degrees, and you got those headphones on. They're black. It's like an oven inside your ear.
Yeah. Well, you sweat, you're sweating
so
right in them.
Those, to me, the Deus ones are a lot more comfortable, and they're probably not as good in the winter. You want something maybe cover your ears up.
Yeah, the one headphones for the Quest 40 or the come standard, I guess. They are like the Deus headphone. They fold right up, but they go over your top of your head, but they look about the same. Of course, you don't program. I don't think I have to look at them again to be sure, but they fit the same kind of way that the Deus does, except it goes over top of your head instead of behind your head. But the Quest Pro has full size, like Killer Bee size wireless headphones, and I think they're waterproof, if I'm not mistaken, or water resistant. Not to look at that, but they sound good, Craig. I know it's a sweat thing and everything when you have them over the top of your ears. I don't know. The sound is. You get a lot less ambient sound, or at least I do, from the outside world, so to speak, so I can really listen to the whisper tones. It's just a preference thing, I think, more than anything else, but that's the reason I use them. But yeah, I don't notice really a lag at all with them. If there is, it's very, very short-lived. I think they're down to, I don't know, thousandths of a second or something like that. But they're using FM too, so there's relatively none, not that I could hear anyways. So as far as the Bluetooth part of it, I think they've speeded that up. I don't think you're not going to be able to hear much of that. Or maybe I'm wrong, but I guess I need to buy a couple different brands of those and try them out or whatever and see what they do.
I know they've improved Bluetooth from a few years ago, maybe twice, but I just don't know if it's going into those, kind of products. It's mostly like Apple's got it in their devices, so that connect to their wireless headphones and different things, but speakers and things like that.
Yeah, well, the ones I had for the the Bliss Tool ones that I had, they were Bluetooth. There was absolutely. They said there was possibly a little lag. That's what Ahmed told me, but I never could notice it. It was right on the verge of when they came out with these newer Bluetooth headphones. Of course, he does some tinkering too, so God only knows what he did to the inside of that, because I think they bought the main part of it and then he adapted it or something like that, as far as I know, anyways. But yeah, there was almost zero lag with that system, so I would think that the technology's got to be there by now, because those came out in 2014, the wireless headphones, or 15. So yeah, I mean it.
Well, I get Garrett. Technics has got a box that you can get.
Yeah.
And so does Garrett.
Mm-hmm.
And,
and I know Technics is using it's using FM, so that the one that they've been selling, that's been a pretty good one as far as what I've been hearing about it, anyways. And I don't think it's that much. I think of $59 for that adapter kit. I'm guessing right now a little bit. I thought it was like $59 for that, so you can actually plug in your actual headphones into this module, and then they had one that plugs in the back of the machine, a transmitter and a receiver essentially. And I heard that one was working pretty good. I mean, that's also probably been upgraded too, because that came out probably in 2012, somewhere in there, maybe a little bit earlier. So yeah, there's a ton of technology. There may be stuff that we haven't even heard of, because I mean, over in Europe, I'm sure they're coming up with stuff in some of these other countries too. So
I think there's there's going to be a whole bunch of new things that are going to happen with all the top-of-the-line detectors. They're all going to get lighter and more ergonomic, because that's what people want. They don't want a heavy machine, and it's no reason for that. You look at the Equinox and the Deus, and some of these machines, they're light and balanced. And wireless headphones is another thing everybody wants. Who wants a wire?
Well, yeah, I mean, I never would really. I don't know. I use the wired headphones for my Bliss Tool, but I'm just so used to it and the way they plug in there and the way they hang that it doesn't really bother me. I've seen some that, the way sometimes they plug in behind the control boxes, or on the handles and stuff like that. I guess it's where it's located at on the machine itself, depending on what kind of detector you're using, whether it gets in the way or not. I haven't had much problem with mine getting in the way at all, but. Craig, I know you go into the woods a lot more, so you're probably getting hung up on everything, trying to walk through the woods with headphones on. So
yeah, I mean, I've definitely put those headphones through a test.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Sticker bushes and all kinds of stuff, and they, there's no problem with them. They don't even look that like they've been used that much.
Right. Yeah, but, I was thinking that the brain. My brain just kicked out again, Craig. I have a hard time with that. It just kind of goes in the direction it wants to. Well, I was going to say, there's these different headphones. If you find them, I don't know. I go to yard sales sometimes, and I'll see headphones in there, and as long as they're, in good shape and everything, I think any stereo headphone will work with a metal detector. Am I right? I've used just about anything with a 1/4 inch.
As long
jack.
as it has the right jack.
Yeah, I mean it. To me, hey, try it. What's the worst that could happen?
The impedance might not be right, and it might be too low or something.
Yeah, because I think
other than that, I think they all work.
Yeah, that one level, I think on most metal detector headphones, it's like 150 to 190 or something like that. Is it dBs or something like that? Not decibels. I don't know. There's a certain way they're wired.
Kilohertz, probably.
Something like that. Yeah. I mean, I was reading up on them and kind of going back and forth. I mean, it doesn't hurt to try, though. I mean, as a backup set of headphones, what the heck? You get them for $5 or $10. Just make sure they work on something else other than your metal detector before you plug them into it. Craig already found that out the hard way, and he bought a brand new set. And we're not even going to say what brand, but plugged them in, and for whatever reason, the ground wasn't right on the headphone wire, and it fried his machine. So threw all the safeties in it, and I was like, oh man, it wasn't that big of a deal, but it was an aggravation for Craig because he was without a machine for about a week. But we got it fixed up and everything. But yeah, sometimes you just never know. But I always plug it into something I really don't care about first, like whatever, a boom box or whatever. You're going to hear a difference if you hear any crackling or anything like that once it's plugged in. If you start hearing stuff like that, then the speaker or the headphone cord is probably messed up, something like that. But yeah, like Sunray Gold was always good with me as far as like I needed to get the earmuffs replaced because they were starting to fall apart, and I don't think he even charged me for them. He just sent them to me. If it was a charge, it was probably like $15 or something, if I remember right. So, and I'm sure the Killer Bees, they probably do the same thing. If something goes out, you can buy extra parts or those earmuff parts of it, because they do come apart. You can get them apart and everything. Maybe the top padding on the headphones where they go over top of your head, if that starts getting bad, sometimes it starts getting they get dry rotted or whatever. Rubber, any kind of padding or whatever will do that eventually, depending what kind of environment you're in. Like down here, we get a lot more humidity and heat, and heck, if you leave them in the car, you start melting stuff, it seems like. I just talked to somebody else that had a paint can blow up in the back of their pickup truck. A spray paint can, got so hot it popped that thing. And he said he always wanted a purple inside of his truck camper bed or whatever, the caps that they put on the pickup trucks. It was all purple on the inside. It just blew that all apart. And just sprayed it all over the place. It actually cracked and spun around and everything. It was kind of weird, but yeah, that heat will get you being closed up in there.
Yeah, I remember it must have been 10 years ago. I was at a tennis camp. We had 107 degrees one day and 109 the next day. And luckily we had an indoor facility.
Yeah,
but,
roasting.
Some of the kids tried to play, outside during lunch, and oh my God, they didn't last 10 minutes.
No.
It looked like they were ready to die. But it was funny. Some of the people had trouble with the inside of their cars, like the vinyl cracking and stuff.
Yeah, the mirrors falling off. The rear view mirror fell off my truck the other day, or a couple of weeks ago anyway. But that heat was wicked.
And another thing is, sometimes you couldn't sit in the car right away. It was so hot, because it'd be like 300 or 400 degrees inside.
Yeah. It just seemed, you got to just be real careful with that. I've been a believer in this, especially because I've been kind of keeping track of it. The more time you spend outside, like say, if you have I'm just going to say, like a doctor, you're inside the air condition all the time, for the most part. And then you got to have a guy that's, a landscaper or something like that. He's outside all the time. Obviously, the guy that has the outside job, he's in the heat more. He's going to be able to handle the heat a lot more, I think. If you spend all your time inside, work inside, all that stuff, and then you go out into this heat, it's going to wipe you out pretty good, rather quickly. And, I've seen it happen, just with my neighbor and everything else, just not used to this kind of heat, or wherever part of the country you're living, or world, really. I mean, I'm sure, like, if you're out west, I mean, you're talking 120 degrees or more, like in Arizona, New Mexico, all that stuff when the heat really gets going, but it's also a dry heat. So obviously you're working out in that all day long, and you're metal detecting with a buddy that spends all his time inside. When he does get outside, he's not going to be able to kind of keep going as much as you, I don't think. I mean, that's what I've found over the years anyways, because you can become an air-conditioned baby. That's what my wife called my kids, when they started playing too many video games inside, not getting outside and doing chores and stuff. Calling them air conditioner babies because it was just too hot outside, Mom. So, that's what she told you. You guys probably heard her. She said, tough. They do out there anyway. So, kind of, acclimating yourself to what your environment is, kind of thing. But Craig, you brought up before the show. We didn't even get to it yet. You did some stuff with ground balancing that anybody probably could do this as long as you can manually ground balance your machine. Depending, whatever kind of machine you have, is you can manually ground balance this. This may work. All you could do is try. Some brands it'll work with, some brands it won't. Now, Craig, you're doing this with the Bliss tool. Am I right?
Yeah. Well, I've also got a story with the Deus too.
Okay. Well, go ahead and I'll just let you kind of tell them what you told me.
Well, anyway, I live in the northern Shenandoah, and it's the ground is rocky. But the ground itself is neutral. It's pretty good ground. But I got limestone boulders sticking out of the ground in my yard. Mm-hmm. I got one under the house that probably weighs 2 or 3 tons. God, it's so big.
Yeah.
And but anyway, also my yard is so full of all kinds of different types of nails, and there's a lot of cinders and ashes, and it's unbelievable. And some of the stuff is down deep, and then some of it's up, closer to the top, and it's almost like it's been turned over a lot too over the years. Plus, it's a Civil War. There was battles and camps all over the place. The Union Army walked right by like a half a block away. The whole Union Army retreated.
Yeah.
Just the town was taken over 131 times, back and forth. So, there's just, and then the house next door was called the Wonderful Store, and it had all kinds of knickknacks and stuff they had. I got a bottle dump in the back that's just got tin cans and bottles and all kinds of crap from probably from the late 1870s, onward. But I remember early on when I was trying the Deus, it's got this pumping. You pump the coil up and down the ground balance,
Mm-hmm.
and I like to hunt in zero discrimination with the full tones,
Mm-hmm.
and so I go down the pump, and it would always go fail. It wouldn't. You couldn't, even when you didn't hear anything in the ground, it just was failing. I was like, this is weird. The ground is good, but why is this thing not? So anyway, I tried something. Instead of doing 0, I went to 1 on the discrimination, and then I tried the pumping, and the pumping worked. So there must be some kind of low something in the ground. That's
a low conductor.
Messing up and there's all kinds of rust in the ground. There's, I've dug like part of a, cast iron stove down, God, it was like 2.5 feet deep.
Mm-hmm.
It was like probably 2 or 3 feet long. And I dug Civil War bullets right, 5 inches, 6 inches, 10 inches deep in that same area.
Mm-hmm.
So, railroad spikes, all kinds of crap, and all kinds of little nails. Some of them are square nails. Some are even rose head nails. Some of them are like little tacks. So I'm thinking that there's a lot of rust and stuff in the ground that's making the ground more mineralized than it should be, normally.
Remind you of something, Craig. What you're talking about right there is exactly what I ran into with the V3 model. Remember the mystery signal, and that's I was getting those particles, those ones, iron that you can crush in your fingers. It's so rusted. It's it's some kind of a that very well could be what you're trying to dodge because there's so much iron.
But anyway, the other day I was trying to ground balance the Bliss tool with 11-inch coil in the backyard, and I just I couldn't find a good spot.
Right.
And I thought, let me go over this. I just couldn't get a spot that didn't have anything that was making a noise. So I went over, and there was a big old limestone rock. So I went over there, and it's kind of flat. So I just pumped on top of that, and the ground balance came in a little bit lower than I normally do, I believe. And so I started swinging toward this tree, and my friend had found a Civil War bullet. The tip had been pounded flat, and then a hole drilled through it for a fishing weight. So we thought that was one of those days where in 3 days we found three work bullets.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's the only work bullets we've ever found in the yard. But anyway, that we hammered the crap out of that area. We just kept going over and over it for months, and so there was hardly any nails even. And I go across there, and I get a signal, and I go, oh my God, that's a brass signal. And so I dig down maybe 6 inches, and there's this ball. And I thought, when I saw it in the bottom of the hole, I just figured it was a round ball. Probably, it wasn't 69. It was kind of smaller, but anyway, I pick it up and I realize it's brass, just like I heard in my headphones.
Yep.
And it had like something that broke off the top of it, but it's heavy. It's fairly heavy. It's almost like it's not.
I thought it was a bell clacker myself. The little clacker that goes in the bell or something like
You know,
that, like a
might
small
be,
bell.
Yeah, it might be.
It just looks ornate. It
I,
has all these little lines on it, and
yeah, it's got like little U-shaped lines on it that are raised.
yeah. There's a video
But,
or a picture of that up on his Facebook page. If you guys want to check it out, I think I put it over to Hardcore too. I'm not positive on that, but it's a little ornate. It has like like a design on it, like lines that go all the way around it. It has to be some kind of a clacker or some kind of a decoration, maybe. I don't know. Christmas decoration. I don't know. It's old. I know that. I mean, it's plenty. Probably what, Craig? At least mid 1800s. Anyways, it's pretty. It looks pretty old
yeah,
to
I would
me.
say. I mean, the patina on it and everything.
Yeah.
It's funny, in this yard, I've dug a lot of bullets that are gray, that don't have any white on them.
Yeah, I dig them down here like that sometimes too. You have
But,
very little
I've
mineralization
dug-
on the ground.
I've dug some that are, white, but, I've dug probably, out of 30 bullets we've dug out of the yard, probably maybe 5 or 6 are white, and the rest are all gray.
But usually the gray ones, maybe I can't notice it on the ones you dig up there, but down here, I mean, I could dig a modern, like you say, a muzzleloading round musket ball or whatever, more modern. You can tell the difference in just the patina on the lead itself, the way not, obviously if they're white, they're usually pretty
in
old.
the past, the only time I dug gray bullets like that is out of the water.
Yeah.
And when we used to metal detect in the water, and it was weird how the water and this is like in the Potomac River and some of the creeks, but we'd dig like an eagle button or anything brass, and it would be shiny like it was dipped in gold.
Wow.
You wouldn't believe it. I mean, I dug a New York button. It had no gold on it, but it looked like it was pure gold. It was so shiny.
Jeez.
And I remember that same day, a guy dug a officer's stirrup, and it was gold. I mean, it looked. If you didn't know, if you hadn't seen the guy digging up out of the water, you thought he would have spray painted with a can of gold paint.
Yeah.
That's how gold it was.
Yeah.
Crazy. And then you dig a bullet, and it's just gray, and some of them are like almost like falling apart a little bit. They're like flaking, and you dig like an Indian head penny,
right?
And it would be like gold looking or real shiny.
That's weird.
You dig a silver coin, it'd be black. You could hardly even tell what it was at first.
We have to do some. I mean, I'm sure there's guys on here that know. I mean, obviously, I think the more mineralized the soil is, sometimes the whiter the bullets come out. But that's not really even true either. It's just because you do, like up where you're at. I dug them there. I dug them in Culpeper. They look almost the same. After you clean off the dirt, it looks pretty much the same.
I've dug all over the state, Maryland, everywhere.
Yeah, I get them down here,
and and I just, something's going on in my yard where that dirt or maybe those bullets got buried early on or something. Yeah. I don't know.
Down here,
where they didn't just lay on the ground for a while, maybe. I don't know. I dug one that the tip was white. It was straight up and down. I dug a flat button that says full colors on it.
Right.
And I kept thinking, man, I think it was another signal, and I went back over and I got this, really good signal, and the button was 5 inches deep, and then about, 10 or 11 inches down, I got this, perfect 3-ringer. And when I pulled it out, I was picking the dirt off, and the bottom part was all gray, but the tip of it was white.
That's strange. I think it's come in contact.
I saw it down in the hole down in the hole, and the tip was sticking straight up. So it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I also dug. I think it was 8 or 9 nails out of that same hole. That's how many. I probably dug thousands of nails out of that front yard. I would dig. I'd dig a wheat penny, and I could dig 7 or 8 nails. What I've done is I just stick the pinpointer in, and I just keep going around and picking everything out. I don't care if it's a nail or what.
Oh yeah.
One time I was doing it, I had this hole down about 1.5 feet, And I just took the pinpointer and went around the hole. I got a banging signal with the pinpointer, and I dug up a 50 caliber round ball. so, so I had to sprue on it. And no detector would have picked that thing up that deep.
Oh yeah, I see it down here with bullets. Now I have a couple that I dug. It was definitely in a swamp area previously, whatever, years and years ago, because it was really black sand, really good looking soil, but it was really black colored. And I dug down, I don't know, it was like almost a foot down, and I got a 50 caliber from the Seminole Indian War. Union soldiers used them, but it came out with this white. It was so white, Craig, that you almost could write on it on your arm with it. That's how much white was on this thing. It's just a real heavy patina, but it was also
like
in a
chalk.
Yeah, it was.
I've had them where you can see the
grains.
It looks like chalk even in the dirt.
Right, that's what this was.
Yeah,
and I got it out of there, but see, it was, like I said, in a really lot of decomposed stuff, whatever, leaves and everything else from over the years. It was in a really mineralized, and I call it a mineralized environment for down here anyways, just because of all the different plant life and all that other stuff that was in there. But then I could dig one, in like by my house here, I'd dig them, and you could tell what they are. I mean, you could tell from they're not as white at all. They're almost just slightly a lighter gray than you would normally see a brand new bullet kind of thing. But there's this is not low lying up here, so I don't know how much that has. There's probably a ton of factors. I mean, like silver coins especially. I mean that thick black you're talking about. I'll find those like that at the beach and stuff, but not in this area. I pull out a dime out of here. I mean, you could tell it's old. I mean, like a mercury dime, you could tell that it was dug and everything, but it's not as near as bad as some of the ones I've seen, on videos and stuff. Is just that real blackness to them, where you really don't want to clean it off because it is a kind of a patina, but there's almost too much to be able to read the coin type thing, like you do with the cob, not the cob. You've got a couple cut halves and stuff like that where you had to really fight to get.
Oh yeah, I got a half of a 8 real one time, and it had like 3 or 4 or 5 different types of patina on top of each other, all different colors. And
well, we kind of got off what we were talking about as far as the ground balance goes.
Oh well, yeah. Well, anyway, I figure that because that rock is probably, there's probably nothing in it. That rock has probably been sticking out of the ground, for a couple hundred years.
Yeah.
In that same spot, so it didn't get anything under it where I could, anything iron or anything. So, that was like a clean place to really ground balance. And the yard, even when you dig, there's hardly a hole you dig where there isn't at least a couple rocks in the hole. Even.
Right.
It's just rocky ground. I mean, sometimes you've got to kind of you try to get a straight shovel in the ground. It's hard sometimes because you hit a rock. And you got to kind of work around the rock to get it out. Get the hole open.
But you're actually tuning. I mean, I don't know where you usually ground balance. What, around 6 or maybe 5?
I was going 6.5
6.
Sometimes.
Okay.
And this one was like maybe 5.4, which is pretty neutral ground.
Yeah, because I usually use between 5 and 5.5 also down here. But what you're talking about is actually, and I've talked about this on the show before. I just use the Blisstal because I know this machine better than most of the other ones I've ever used because I've used it for so long. But, when you're totally ground balanced on a machine perfectly, you're actually already losing depth in a way. If you go to a positive ground balance or a little bit higher, I call it positive ground balancing. I don't know what anybody else calls it. Maybe I heard that somewhere. But anyways, I can actually increase depth on our machine quite a bit.
Negative ground balance.
Well, okay, there's two sets. Yeah. Blisstal's is, that's a little different. That's what I was saying. I go to the higher side on it.
You could also do it on the Bliss.
Right.
It's just you can't do it in bad ground.
No.
but like on the dais, a lot of people ground balance, and if the ground isn't real bad, then you can back off about 4 numbers
Right.
lower, and it's negative. It's just the same as the negative ground balance. And we used to actually do it with put an auto tune on the Soro Toltec 100, and then use the ground balance until it would null.
Right.
And then we'd hunt, but you couldn't go into all metal. You could only hunt in discriminate.
Okay.
But it in good ground, it gave you at least another good inch on a dime.
Yeah, as I say, with the Bliss tool, I can do that, but there's ways that I can go to the negative side on the ground balance with some adjustments on the machine itself, and this is kind of like, I don't even know what kind of tune you would call it, but there's a way for me to get even more depth and target separation going on the negative side, but I have to have other settings set a certain way to work with the ground balancing. And it's almost like the gain on, if you can't ground balance, your gain might be too high on some of the detectors. You need to turn it down, or your sensitivity. Same kind of premise with the Bliss tool. It especially works with the V3 model. I usually didn't talk about it much because it get confusing with some of this stuff if you're not familiar with the machine. But I didn't know if there was a way with like the Deus and stuff like that. You guys go to the negative side, right off the bat, lowered 4 numbers, you said.
Well, you're the one that found out that the Bliss tool would actually, it almost boosted it when you
it does.
10.
Yeah.
So that machine does stuff that everybody, the other ones don't do. But I remember I asked Ahmed about that years ago on that radio show. I think we did.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, it does, but you can't do it it won't work in bad ground.
No.
Or mineralized ground.
Right, I can't.
And good ground, you can negative ground balance up to a point. When it starts going unstable, then back off, then go forward a little bit. But, you can actually get more depth that way.
See, I actually went to the lower side of, when I was in Culpeper, I was ground balancing, I think, at 5.75 with the V6. But if when we want to go into an iron ore mode, ground balance, an iron ore ground balance, we would be at like 8.6. I mean, in that situation, I couldn't go higher. If I was totally ground balanced in that Culpeper dirt, it probably would have equaled out to what, Craig, 6.5 or 7 at least, you would say, about the course. I'm actually sitting at 5.75, but because I had my gain right and my discrimination right and my threshold right, I was actually, and I used the silencer a little bit too. It's a combination because all the knobs work together, can work together. You can set a primary setting, presets, whatever that you want, but to get these discrimination knobs and the sensitivity and the ground balance, you can work with those together, even the frequency, and it changes the aspects of your settings. And it sounds confusing, but once you get used to what it's doing, once you understand what you're hearing, then you can really tune this thing, because I was able to bury a 30-inch silver dollar, nail it with the V3 for crying out loud. I mean, with an 11-inch coil, and I just went to the positive side of the ground balance, and I think I showed that in the video. But you have to have the ground that's going to handle it. I don't think I would ever try that in Culpeper because I'm dealing with a heavy mineralization. And so I go to a little bit of a negative side to it. I'm kind of accepting a little bit more of the mineralization, but because of the way I had my discrimination set up, it worked very well. I dug that Sharps bullet, a couple Sharps bullets at between 10 and 12 inches down in that ground where, that's usually GPX land. That's what I call it, because they're able with the pulse induction detectors to really nail those deep bullets, where the VLFs have more of a problem with it. So, that's why I was kind of interested to see. I was surprised with the Quest 40, the Quest, 40 and the Pro both do it, that I can actually go through a hot rock and get a target of, a bullet. And the only other detector I know that ever could do that was the Bliss tool. We've tried it with a lot of different detectors, and it's not something some of them could possibly pick it up on top of a hot rock, like a bullet, But once you go underneath the bullet, and I'm using a 3-inch thick hot rock. I think it's 3x4. It's almost like a small brick, and it's total Culpeper hot rock, and we can actually ground bounce to that hot rock and still hit something on top or below it of it. So and the Quest seems to be doing that, not as well through it, but it is doing it which is something to be said, Craig, because like I said, there's no other machine I've ever owned that could do it other than the Bliss tool. So
Yeah,
in that ground,
there's hot rocks in my yard,
mm-hmm.
and some of them look like burnt coal or something almost.
Yeah.
Some of them are like blue looking.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the Deus will almost sound like a button, sometimes, but it's a weird kind of a echoey type sound or a hollow type sound.
Yeah,
It's repeatable, especially when you get it right close to the coil. And I can take the Bliss tool and I can't get a signal on it. It doesn't clip. It doesn't do anything.
Right.
And that's kind of. But the Deus, actually, I've taken it in some pretty highly mineralized areas and picked out a ton of buttons that I missed, over the years, even with the mine labs.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of surprised, but also was a lot of iron in the ground too. So the Deus, really does a job. The mine labs aren't as good as in the iron, I don't think.
Yeah, but maybe the new ones are too. I don't know. I mean, I'd like to get. I know Mark Hoover has a Equinox, and I maybe next time we get together.
The only machines I used I had the Explorers that I used for years, and I've tried the E-Track and the CT what was it, SE Pro.
Right.
But, from what some people told me that they pick up more iron with those machines, big iron and stuff. But most of the machines over the years, God, I dig horseshoes all the time, deep.
To me, see, that's
anything. And the Bliss just doesn't. You can tell it's iron.
I guess that's why it doesn't bother me so much, Craig. As I was going to say that because I know it's iron. I could tell just by what the signal's telling me, and it's pretty noticeable. But I don't, the big iron, man. I tell you, a lot of people walk on that. If you start digging old horseshoes and stuff, I guess if you dig down 3 foot on a hole, you want to find something good. But I mean, every once in a while, I always try to dig like 5 or 6 of those targets.
I go for iron because we dug a piece of a Borman shell and also a piece of a fairly big piece of a Schinkel shell.
Mm-hmm.
And they're exploded, so that we figured it's got to be the rest of those, or maybe another piece or two. And the guy across the alley from me, he dug a Britain shell, half of a Britain Confederate shell in his yard, and a bunch of shrapnel over there. So I don't know,
I just say as you have these adjustments on these machines, and depending on how they're calibrated or how much adjustment room you have from the minimum or to the maximum adjustment space, that makes a difference to somebody that, to a lot of us on the show, especially on the chat and stuff, because these guys all love relic hunting, we love metal detecting in general. To have that extra, even if you never use it very often, the adjustments, tinker with it once in a while. I mean, what's going to happen? It may not work. You may have to go back to your original settings. But I think that several of these machines, they have a lot of potential to them. I mean, I'm very impressed with the Quest. I've been using it, and I really like it. I still want to get a few more hours in it. But I'd love to, just for general purposes, to see how these machines rack up on really mineralized ground and really, that type of situation, but on the other side of it too, the saltwater beaches and stuff. I know with Quest they're doing a new upgrade or update, or they're going to be doing it here. I don't know, about a year. It's another. I think it's going to be another salt program if I'm not mistaken. But how they stack up. For our sakes, not for sales and all that junk. I mean, you guys are the ones that are using the machine that want something good. So, between us, maybe we can figure out, hey, this one's real good at this one's real good at that. to give people a better idea, because obviously, if you're into coin hunting and you're going to parks and stuff like that, why would you, really want a relic machine or something that's really good about, and you're living in good ground and you don't plan on going out of state? Well, why would you buy a machine that can really handle mineralized ground if you're not in it? Or, you know what I mean? You're not hunting for stuff in that relic world, realm. You're going more for coins. So, every machine has its good and its bad. It's figuring out what you need. And that's where I think, talking to your friends, talking to, other guys that use the machines, it helps you out a lot more than talking to, I don't know, a salesperson on the phone or something like that, because they only know what they're told to tell you in a lot of cases. Now, I'm not talking about the guys that relic hunt, and sell metal detectors and stuff online. There are hunters. I'm talking about, this is regular salespeople. A lot of them probably haven't even used the machine, or they've used it very little. So I always like to get my information from somebody like, like Craig or Bill Marsh or Mark Hoover or whoever has one of those machines. I'll call them and ask them, well, what are you using for settings? What do you, where did you start at, or where are you at now, so I can kind of catch up a little bit, maybe figure out some better settings, and you do the same, and we'll try to, compare notes kind of thing. It makes it a lot easier because there's so many different metal detectors out there. There's no way to. I mean, Craig, you probably own about 50 or 60 machines. I probably
46.
46. Yeah, see, I've had about maybe 10. But I don't know. I use them. I learn them. I learn them inside out the best I can. I'm not worried about that as long as they show potential as far as improving, and I can adjust them to improve them. I'll stick with the machine for quite a while. I mean, I stuck with that Spectra V3 for 3.5, 4 years, just learning the machine as much as I could, and decided, hey, I need something a little bit different, and they can do different things. So, I went on to the Bliss tool, and I've had several since in that time too. And some of them good, some of them not my style, some of them are just not good at all. But I've had to do that kind of on my own, and I was lucky enough to find them used. Because not many people can go out there and pop $1,000 machines left and right. I go look online, or if I even see one, I bought. I can't remember what whites it was. It was one metal box on. I think it was it's not a 5900, but it was an older one, and I bought it just for the heck of it. It was $10 at a yard sale. I said, well, this will be fun to play with, and it was. I mean, you couldn't pick up a nickel at 5 inches, but it was still fun to play with a little bit. But they, it's just fun to mess with the technology, so to speak. But there's so many, brands out there. I couldn't, it's. I guess that's why we talk about it so much on here, because we have a lot of people that maybe are just checking out metal detecting or thinking about getting into it. Don't get overwhelmed with it. Just see what a lot of the other guys are using in the kind of area that that you'll be hunting in, metal detecting in, and kind of go from there. And then just look at get yourself a basic model. Start off slow. You don't want to buy $1 million metal detector and only use it once. Some people like this hobby, some people don't. I mean, it's you're not going to know it till you go out there and do it. A lot of us find it's like, it's an addiction. We love it. So, of course, we're going to look for the best we can get and we can afford. And that's what we do. So start off with something, see if you like it first. Then you can really start pounding the pavement, so to speak, or getting on the, talking to some friends and seeing what they're using. And or making some friends too, because a lot of these guys, like Mark or Bill Marsh or any of these guys on chat, guys and gals too, they'll help you out, on Facebook or whatever else, wherever you can get a hold of them at, they'll help you out with machines too, what may work for them. So we're pretty informational here. But
yeah.
with the Bliss tool though, I mean, I talk about it a lot because it does so many things that I guess if you've never had that option, like I didn't before I got this machine, it was amazing to me, and it still amazes me. I'll never learn this machine all the way. Even when you're talking about models, is the same thing. It's even between the models, Craig, you have to admit there's a major difference. Not in it's the way that it reacts, the way the sound is. Of course, the recovery delay is about pretty much. It's faster with the V5 and 6 than the V3, but the V3 is nothing to shake a stick at.
Well, to me, the V3, between the V3 and the V5, the stabilization and the what do you call it, the
turbo and
the boost,
yeah, the
turbo
boot,
boost.
turbo boost. Yeah,
That made a big difference in the V5. You know, I'd done some really good stuff with the V3, but the V5, man, that thing.
that thing found me a
I
lot of
talked
stuff.
to I talked to a guy in UK 6 months ago, and he had the V3, the V5, and the V6, and he was doing tests with the V6, and he was amazed. You know, that all kinds of little differences. You know, that
Yeah.
the V6 could do that the V5 couldn't. But he told me, he said, I made a fortune, actually a fortune with the V5.
Hmm. I believe it.
He made hundreds of thousands of pounds. you know, he wouldn't tell me what he found, but
Yeah.
I saw, gold Saitlers and stuff like that, and I was like, oh my God, you're talking 2,000-year-old coins.
What blew my mind for it, because I didn't know about that machine until 24 hours before the entire world knew about it when the V5 came out. And I'd been using the V3, Craig and I both had since 2012. Well, when I got I'd been hunting this one spot with I had the whites in there before it and several other machines. But I hunted with the V3 for, 2.5 years in that particular area. And I took the V5 out first day, dug 5 coins in a row in not even a 30-foot area. That because White's machine been over it, I don't know, for 3 or 4 years. Then the Bliss Tool V3 had been over it, and I'd found a bunch of stuff with it. And and then on the V5, I was still finding stuff up until the time they built something on it. But yeah, I mean it. But it's the same mouthful though, Craig. That V3, that's raw power right there. You don't have any stabilization. It's just, it's a different animal. It's good. I mean, I still use my V3. I have a V2 that I use that I don't think anybody else in here in the States has one. Maybe they do by now, but for years I was the only one in the States with one. And I actually bought it from a hunter that got it from the UK. So, but that machine, in its own realm, it's still, you'll still hit a 10-inch dime with it, 10, 11, 12-inch dime with it. Just got to you got to be careful of the stabilization part of it. Know what you're doing. So, some of these machines, the older ones, I know some guys that Dave McMahon, he loved that Sovereign GT. He still, as far as I know, he still loves that machine, and it's just because he knew it so well and knew just how to manipulate that machine. I think Josh would say, Josh Kimmel, he'd say the same thing about the E-Track. He knew that machine inside, upside down, every which way. He was really good with that machine. And he's really good with the CTX too. But I guess once you get the idea of where the machine's going, where it wants you to go, then it's a little bit easier to make the adjustments. But I always looked at it like that. If I make an adjustment, it doesn't work, you just move it back. That's where I came up with the zero ground balance on the wet salt sand. Works perfectly, and it's nice and quiet. I mean, it's everything you could want out of a VLF on the wet salt sand, and you're digging at stuff at depth. So I mean, it worked. But when I tried to use other settings, like you would normally try to ground balance a machine, you can't do that. That's probably, you can, it's going to be really noisy. I like a smooth, quiet machine, stable. Stabilization on any machine is important. If you run it chatty and you're not used to it, used to the machine in general, it could really mess with your head. So, and that's, I think, Craig, you've done the same thing in a lot of your videos. We're not running crazy settings for the most part. I mean, Craig's dabbling more into the more advanced kind of thinking in his videos. I mean, he's always done it, but in our videos we don't, because we don't want to confuse people.
My yard is starting to slim way down now because we've hammered it for a year.
Right, you got to run some power.
I'm trying to, work things. And one thing that helped was they put up new power lines. And the old power lines have been there since 1974, and all of a sudden, I took the Deus out in the front yard one day, and usually it's going da 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 da, just noisy, and there was no noise, and I was like, what? So I took it back in the house and brought the Bliss Tool out, and I was able to put the sensitivity so much higher.
Mm-hmm.
I had to use a lot of silencer and stuff and run the gain way down, but I can run it much higher. And the sensitivity, I could run it up, I don't know, close to 6.5.
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty high, but with this new thing, with this new ground balancing trick I was doing, I'm going to have to test it out. Go back over the yard again and see, if I can pull anything else out. But I was only out there for half an hour, and I got an iffy signal that was a big piece of iron. But I dig those. If it's big, and I know it's iron, I just dig it anyway because it could be a gun part. I've dug like a barrel band from a Springfield rifle. I think we've dug a hammer. Some other. I dug a Confederate J hook that was iron.
Well, that's wild.
Out of iron.
Mm-hmm.
I'd heard of them, but I'd never dug one over the years. I didn't even hear about it until lately. But that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, you got to,
but we've dug pieces of pots and just all kind. I don't know how many horseshoes and like it looks like all kinds of different spikes. They got to be like railroad. Some of them are definitely railroad spikes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a railroad about maybe a quarter of a mile away, and it was there, during the Civil War. So
yeah,
and somebody said it was actually moved back, and it used to be on the other side of my house. So I don't know, but
there's even
all kinds of odd pieces of iron that you can't figure out what they are. We'll sit there and hey, anybody know what this is?
Well, there's settings for all these machines that, in your circumstance, Craig, like you said, you can't run tons of power into that ground with the other kind of discrimination you have set up because it's really hot, it's hot settings, but you can set it up like that. I've seen, and I've done it, over in Bulgaria, you go through a 25-inch mineralized rock and put a quarter, because it was an outcropping, put a quarter underneath it and we can get it. I think even with the 11-inch coil we did, but I know we got with the 15-inch coil with the V5 and the V6, and then we did a gold frank. It's about the size of a quarter anyways, but put it underneath that mineralized rock. But we were running huge settings. I mean, you got to know what you're doing. You got to have an idea about your machine or you're going to drive yourself nuts. You got to know how to adjust the other settings on there to calm the sound of the machine. You don't want unstableness. You want totally stable. And that's a lot of the reasons why, I wasn't putting these videos out, because I was going to bend people's minds because you're going to try to buy the machine and use those settings. And that's where some people made a mistake with the V3 model because of the gain. That was a gain, they wanted to crank that gain up to 10. And it just, if you didn't know what you were doing with it and it was your first couple times out with it, it probably would have drove you insane. I know it would have me. So, having the power is one thing. Be able to control it, that's another thing. You got to know what you're doing as you go along with it. But, I'm looking on here. I think, it was Sevens was talking about Jeff dug a sword plate, belt plate, at 30 inches down. I think, I don't know what Jeff's using right now. I think he's using the Equinox. I might be wrong on that. But
I think he's using GPX.
Oh, GPX, that's right. Okay. Yeah, because I know since Seven said he had a GPX also. But yeah, those are really deep targets, and that's a nice find anyways. 30 inches, that's, over 2 foot. That's going to be nice. I know as you get deeper on these targets, you start digging in the ground and you go past a foot, your eyes start getting big, or at least mine do, because it's like, okay, this is going to be nice. It's below that 1 foot mark. So it's, hopefully older and nicer. So sometimes it works out like that. Sometimes it doesn't. But I know he was probably jumping up and down when he dug that sword plate. I know I would have been. So, I've been shoulder deep on like the irons they put on the wood burning stoves, to iron clothes or whatever back in the day. I've dug those shoulder deep in the ground. It just, when you can get the right settings and you can, you're taking your time and you're listening. And I knew it was iron. You can hear that spit on the end of it. It's pretty much, no brainer. It wouldn't lock on real good. But it was definitely I knew it was something big anyway. So I'm a sucker for a big iron signal. I got to see what it is. One of these days I'm gonna dig up a car. It'd be nice. I've dug up headlights and front ends and everything else. I might as well dig up the whole car next. But but yeah, these. Even with the, I think somebody was talking about the Equinox on here. It's doing very well. I just love to I might get with Mark. We talked about it before because I think Mark has an Equinox. I'd love to see that, how that one works and just put it through just general stuff, and put I don't care, put the Quest through it, whatever. The Quest 40 kind of surprised me. That machine, for for being an average machine supposedly as far as price goes. That thing it's right up there. It does pretty good. I was impressed with it. I thought it did a lot better than the F-75 even. As far as just the recovery delay alone and the target ID and the depth. That impressed me a lot. I've been talking about getting with Mark. I think I talked to him a couple of months ago about it, and to see that Equinox. I see all the videos. I saw the ones from Sam Waters and Evan and everything, and that kind of got my juices flowing as far as that machine goes too. So many machines, not enough time, Craig. not good enough weather either. I'm just I think I'm just jonesing to get out there and hunt all day long and not die of heat exhaustion. So keep on trying to find the time to do it. But I think by this fall I'll be ready to hunt every single day of the week. If my wife wants to see me, she can come with me. She's looking at afar. She's holding her head like she's looking down the road. So I guess that means she ain't going to go out there. But that surprised more.
Hey.
Yeah. Oh, she wants to go fishing. Anyway, I was just looking on here with Relic Steve. He was, Sevens. He was telling me that it surprised him more than any other VLF he's used. So yeah, I definitely want to get with Mark on that and check it out too. I think you guys will like this machine too. It just, these newer machines, Craig, are just, it's not, and I've told you this off air, it's like, okay, I'm still using my old standby, but I see the machines are getting better. Flat out. They're
Yeah.
They just are. They're just not at the point where I trust because of what I've
one
used.
Good thing is, there's a lot of competition now. So
yeah,
it's like in smartphones, Samsung and Apple, are always trying to push it,
push it
get
to the limit
the other guy doesn't have.
Right.
So they're always, trying to improve their machines, their phones every year. And the same thing is happening now with, all the major machines, it's like I said, I knew this when I got to Deus, I started thinking, why doesn't anybody else do this? Why don't they make them lighter? Why are these machines so, like the E-Track to me is heavy and unbalanced.
The White's was when you compare it to nowadays.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
The Nautilus, I told Derek it's like having a toaster on top of the shaft. You got this big old heavy toaster up there, swinging
Craig,
that thing all day.
The bad part about it, Craig, is that even if these machines come out, I don't care if it looks like a damn weed whacker, as long as if it can hit depths and separate targets better and recovery, I don't care. I'll use it. I'm to that point.
I dug so much stuff with that Nautilus, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
That was probably the most productive machine over the years. I used it for a good 8 years straight. In good ground, there was not a whole lot of machines back then that could touch it.
Yeah.
But in mineralized, even in slightly mineralized ground, I noticed that the Minelab Explorers were killing them. And in bad ground, it's like Jerry Tyndall used to say: if you had to turn the ground balance higher than 7, take the machine, open up your trunk, put it in your trunk, and go home.
Yeah.
Because you can't hunt there.
Pick up your machine, wrap it around the tree. That's about as good as it's going to get you. I've seen guys do that.
That's not what people want to hear, but at least the guy was honest about it, But in good ground, man, in the sandy soil, like in Stafford, Fredericksburg,
it's
all
horrible.
on the river.
Horrible.
Man, I used to outdig. I used to kill those white skies. They would they couldn't stand it. I'd walk right behind them pulling stuff out of the ground.
Oh, I thought you were talking about down there
especially
near Culpeper. That's what I thought you were talking about. That's horrible ground there. But no,
Oh,
you're
man.
talking about Fredericksburg. I heard that, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know,
yeah. It's all sandy soil down
Yeah.
there. It's like river sand.
I'll tell you, I like
Uh,
South Carolina myself. I didn't get a chance to hunt very long there. I was actually going to get.
That's probably the best dirt in the,
Oh
in the
man,
world.
it's beautiful. I dug a. It was so nice to dig in that ground. I mean, I didn't where I was at. I didn't hit any real rocks or anything like that. But it was like a loamy, sandy soil. It was perfect. The dream, it wasn't like spiking through dry ground or something like that, like you did like we were doing in Virginia. Remember that the drought or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
That ground was like hard until you got down like 10, 12 inches down. It was like driving through a rock, just about trying to dig through it. But yeah.
That's why I always use those Army entrenching shovels and
Hey, I bent
do
mine.
the
I bent
Paul
my.
Bunyan
Uh,
smash the ground with it.
I bent the blade on mine, Craig. Can you believe that? I hit the doggone ground too hard, I guess. Couldn't believe I bent that thing.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I also, I'm prying up stuff with it too. I may have pried up something that bolts or something because there's a big old from that bridge. But yeah, I noticed the other day I also cut roots in the driveway with it because we have a dirt driveway. The roots start showing. I'll hit them with that. But yeah, I bent it somehow. Of course, I hit it like a mule anyway. So I like the one you got. You got a Korean War entrenchment tool. I think that's the one you were using when I was up there with a spike on the back of it. Isn't that the one?
Yeah,
you
I
were...
got one of those, and that one is more like a spoon now.
Yeah, I saw it.
That's the third one that I've had that I've actually used it so much it's probably a third as big as it used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, just smashing the ground, cutting through the roots and everything else. And
Yeah.
I used to have people would say, "Oh my God, I can't believe it! How long did it take you to do that?" And I go, "I don't know, 5 years or so." And I said, "That's the third one." And I got a couple. I got one now that has it just has a single blade, and it's actually locked in place on a steel shaft.
Right.
So, but it's heavy. I don't like the weight of it, but I was using it, and man, when you swing that thing, you got mass behind your.
That's like that one I
cut,
made you. You probably threw that one away.
I almost.
That one I
I
sent
almost
you.
cut a.
I took just so you guys, I took a post hole diggers and I cut the blade off of a set of old post hole diggers and I welded this thing onto a piece of 1-inch square tubing, steel tubing and welded it on there and I had a handle on it. I think it was 24-inch handle, Craig. Then I took a piece of 1-inch, it's about a 1-inch wide, 1.5-inch wide, and about a 1/4-inch thick steel stock, and put it on the back end and sharpened that thing. I told Craig, if that doesn't get through a root or anything you're dealing with, and you can't pry up a boulder, then I'll eat my hat, so to speak. But it only weighed 4.5 pounds.
Yeah,
You can build a bicep up with that.
the only problem with it did what you say, but the trouble was it was too short for me.
It
when
needed
I
to be
swung
longer.
down, it didn't give me enough lever.
Yeah,
But
that thing was heavy.
but
Good God.
but yeah, I mean, that thing was so solid it would just cut through a root like it was paper.
Well, you can't get the Korean War. Well, at least I haven't been able to find any of the Korean War entrenchment tools. I've even gone to Army surplus stores there. Craig had 20 of them, and he gave a bunch of them away. You crazy person! Back in the day.
I sold them all.
Yeah.
No, I sold them all.
No, he sold them all.
I didn't even, I didn't sell them all. I think I kept 3 or 4, and then I had a bunch of the other ones. But I had guys begging me. I mean, I could have sold them for $40 and $50 a shot.
Yeah, they're
you
nice.
Can't get them anymore.
I looked around all over the place down here, and I couldn't find them. But if you guys come across them at a good price, buy a couple because you're not. And I know what the problem with mine is, Craig. It was a Japanese entrenchment tool from World War II because I bought it because it had a 31-inch handle on it, and I'm a tall guy, so it was easier for me to swing and hit the ground with it. But that, hey, You're not going to find better than American steel.
Most
So,
people,
yeah.
there were guys that used the Korean War one like I had, but
Mm.
most people back, I used just the single
Yeah.
blade. But
That spike helps a lot
uh,
to break up that ground when it was dry out. I remember you telling me that. Hit it with that spike, where you're going to be digging at, and then just scoop it
yeah,
right out.
like if a lot of times the ground be so hard, it'd be like a rock, and I'd take that pick and just slam it in the ground and just, pull back a little bit on it, and kind of crack the ground, and then I could get that, once I got like a couple, cracks in the ground, then I could slam it with the regular shovel point,
Right.
Get the, but man, I remember there was this one place at this Georgia camp on this high hill, and I was digging bullets down, 12, 13 inches deep with this, and they were 69 caliber minis, and oh my God, every hole took like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And I remember this one friend of mine was hunting, and he found a South Carolina cuff button like an inch deep, and then we'd start, getting signals, real, iffy signals. I was using the Nautilus. I'm digging, bullets down over a foot deep.
Jeez.
And the big 69s, and I'm like, how the heck did these bullets get down this deep? Unless there was probably hut sites along there.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
But it's like a long ridge, like a picket post or something.
Mm-hmm.
It was the 18th Georgia camp. South Carolina guys were there too. But anyway, this friend of mine, he dug like 2 bullets, and I dug about 3 or 4, and I saw him sitting up on a log, and he'd already gone up, probably about, 25 yards up the path swinging, and then he was sitting on a log. And so I start swinging where he was, and I'm getting signals. And so I go, hey, you left some signals over here, and he goes, I'm too beat. I can't dig anymore. I'm dying.
I don't know. Even the hunt we went to last year, the CWPPO hunt, and 2, I think it was. But anyway, 2 or 3. I think it was 3. Anyway, we were up there, and the ground was so hard. Oh my God! You try to drive your shovel in, and your foot, just the shovel would roll. Or even if you're using a predator tool, what did it matter? I mean, it was just such a hard ground. You can get through it, but it was just tough. I think
you
the hard
have to chip away,
Yep.
And that's when you hit relics, is when you're chipping that. And
yep.
when you have and the blade will like slide into the hole instead of straight down.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen that where you try to go straight down, and then it kind of spoons into the middle of the hole.
Right.
At an angle instead of straight down. A lot of times, it's hard to control the shovel sometimes in a real hard, deep hole.
I was using this one. Oh, good.
And then you get down, like a foot deep, and you got to scrape the dirt out of the hole to get it out.
Right.
And that's why I bought it. That's why I got the pinpointer. It wasn't really to pinpoint, the target in a plug or anything. It was just I didn't want to damage, deep buttons and bullets and stuff, down in the hole, because I was having to lever.
Yeah, I was digging that roadbed up there in Tennessee when I was hunting with Bill and Tom, and I'll tell you what, I got seven bullets in that one little stretch, but man, every hole took 10, 15 minutes, because every bullet was like 8 inches down into that roadbed, and this is from the Civil War era, and it's now a field. There's grass growing on top of it. But I tell you what, we were literally went to Home Depot or Lowe's, I can't remember what it was, and bought it's almost like a hand pick, but it has like a bigger spoon end on it. I'm calling it a spoon end. Man, I tell you what, it took the punishment, but man, it was just tough as nails to get through that dirt, that roadbed, and every bullet was flat. But you could see the 69 caliber. You could see the rings on it and everything. It was just like they just squished it. Every bullet was like that. I think we found, but Bill found a couple, I think, through there too, and of course the oxen shoes and that kind of thing. But the Union Army came right through there, and the Confederates were up on the ridges, trying to pick them off and stuff. So we ended up with some decent stuff there. But I guess Tom had been hunting that for years. And so we found out later that another, I can't remember his name now, real well known in Tennessee for relic hunting from way back. And I guess he had hunted it years and years ago with, I'm not even sure what kind of detector it was, but, we still, Tom still finds stuff there, but, the easy stuff is gone. Anything that was like 3 inches down, 4 inches down is gone. Because this guy that hunted is really, really good hunter, veteran hunter, been out there for years. So, but we were still getting stuff. But that road bed, I know why the guy didn't dig that. My God, that thing was a pain. But it was fun. We found stuff. That's all that mattered. But that was a rough day. Yeah, digging implements. It just, you couldn't even use a shovel there, really. I mean, it'd be like hitting concrete with it. Just kind of bounces off. I don't think a Predator tool would even really got through it very easily. If I can't do it with a hand pick, but at any rate, yeah, it's nice to bring that stuff with you. We had to go down and buy something. So, but yeah, I tried that Glock entrenchment tool there, and it's nice. It's lightweight, but it almost bounces off of it. It's too light. I think it only weighs, I want to say it's just over 11 ounces, maybe a pound tops. But it's all of that. It's like a polymer handle. It extends out. I think I showed it to you, Craig. It's a Glock entrenchment tool, and it works good down here, obviously, because I'm not dealing with the rock like you are up there. But still, even a root, stuff like that, it's just not. It's not enough weight to it. Yeah, I have to really swing the heck out of it, but it will bite in there pretty good. It's durable enough. I haven't broke it yet, so obviously take abuse, but I have chipped up the blade pretty good. I've had to sharpen it a couple times already just to get the imperfections of it out. But yeah, there's a lot of different shovels to choose from. I'd say really stick with Predator tools or Gravedigger tools or something like that if you're really into the hobby and dealing with a lot of harsh ground, or make your own. Pick see what you need and make it the way you need it. Don't be real careful about the stuff you buy.
It's just like you want to buy more quality stuff because it's going to last longer, and
don't go by weight so much.
It's a pain when you go out and something breaks and you have to come back home.
Yeah,
especially when you drive a while.
Like the Root Assassin that Bill just bought for pretty much because he knew it was going to be junk anyways, but it didn't even last one root. I mean, you deal. Yeah, if you're a weekend warrior camper that is going camping for the first time. Those little ones will work fine, but if you're out there trying to really punish a piece of equipment digging into the ground, like we normally do, Craig, those things aren't going to work. I mean, they're going to bend up, they're going to break. We can abuse shovels. I mean, shovels and picks and all that. We're pretty harsh on them. I can't stand to have a digging tool that bends or something. I haven't bought one. I saw one at the CWPP. I think it was the guy, I'm trying to remember his name now, the guy that sells Gravedigger tools. I think he's out of Cleveland or something. And he had these small hand trowels, whatever you want to call them, small diggers. And I want to get one of those, Craig. The one I got, I think I got free from when I bought one of my first detectors, and it's okay. I think it's a Gator or something like that. But that thing bends. I mean, literally, I could probably bend it with my hands, Craig. It's made in China kind of thing. I do use it. It comes in handy, but I mean, I need to buy a decent hand tool. I don't know. I don't use them very often anymore. Most of the time, I get the target out relatively easy. The only time I really use it if it's really deeper into the sidewall of the hole. So I'm not really punishing that small digger like that. Like I would if I had a chance to, I would, but it would just not hold up to it. It would just bend. But that one they had, the guy had from Gravedigger Tools, I think he put them into production. Those things, they're pretty stout, and they're not as long bladed either. If I remember right, it had an 8-inch blade on it, not a 9-inch blade or something like that. It was a little bit shorter, but man, I tell you what, I don't think you're going to bend the thing very easy, that's for sure. I'm going to get a picture. I'll look that up and put it up on Hardcore or something like that, let you guys see. Or you probably just go to Gravedigger Tools, I think it's .com. He probably has it on there. He has a lot of nice stuff. And Predator tools too. I mean, you can't go wrong with those shovels. I still have I think it's a Piranha or something like that, Craig, that I had. The one with a 3-inch wide blade on it, and you step behind the blade. They have that foot peg or whatever to step on it. I have one of those, and I've
yeah.
used that since 2009. And I've used it in the yard. I've pried up concrete blocks out of the ground. I've never has bent at all. I mean, I've tortured that thing. So quality wise, Predator tools, Lish tools, whatever, they're all. I don't know. I haven't heard very many of those breaking. I think one or two under normal circumstances or whatever. But I think he replaced them too, if I remember right. I talked to him up there at the Dippa hunt.
That's the guys do.
Yeah,
you really don't usually have to worry about it.
Right. Yeah, I don't. I think they guarantee them for a certain amount of time too. But yeah,
I
you
saw
went.
a guy I think it was a grave digger tool, and he was smacking like this fairly good sized tree and cut the tree down with it.
I had this old junk car, and I took this. We were horsing around just because it has a T handle on it, man. You're driving it through the hood of the car and everything, just horsing around junk car we were going to have towed off anyway. That thing just you couldn't bend it. You couldn't, you just could rip a car apart. It seemed like with it. I like equipment like that. I mean, because as Americans, we're tough on equipment. Yeah, detectors, headphones, pinpointers. We're all tough on equipment. It has to be able to stand up durability wise. We have, I see some of these guys, using like earbuds as headphones. They plug get the adapter and put it in there. It wouldn't even last a day with me. If I got into the woods or something, that thing would, I'd probably break the wire in, no time. So, anytime with headphones, and that was one of the things with the headphones that we had, Craig, it's just too light. I mean, the headphones are great, but you don't have a durable enough wire, so why? They're going to break these things left and right. So we're tough on stuff, but we'll pay the money for it too. A good shovel. I'd buy one. I did buy one, but anymore I just make my own because I like to do it. And nothing wrong with that either. You can kind of adapt it the way you want it. That way. And I break a lot of handles, because I use wood handles, but they're easy enough to buy and replace. So I usually get about 6 months out of a handle on my shovels, and I dig some pretty deep targets and put a lot more pressure on them than I probably should, trying to pop plugs and stuff with them. So if you don't mind replacing stuff once in a while, it's no big deal. But if you want something that's going to last probably 20 years, go ahead and buy one of those Predator tools. That thing will last forever. And it's a weapon too. You can defend yourself with it. Craig swings around with
I use a aim shovel in my yard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it cost me like $12 or $14 over at Lowe's or Walmart. I can't remember.
They're good. I use them.
It's starting to bend a bit, but it does a good plug, and unless you got to go really deep,
right.
Then I just go over to my shed and get a regular foot shovel.
Mm-hmm.
But there are places in my yard where there's no grass. I just use the entrenching shovel over there and just hammer a hole in the ground.
I used the aim shovel. I took that. Well, you saw it, Craig. I bought a trenching shovel. It has a 12-inch blade on it. Ames makes it. It has actually on either side of the blade. It has the footsteps on it. Where they bend out a little bit so you don't hurt the arch of your foot. I just bought that. I literally had it with a little short handle. I put a long handle on it, and I cut 3 or 4 inches off the blade at the end. It was a perfect height as a relic hunting shovel, and I've had that for 2 years right now, and it hasn't. I think I replaced the handle once on it, but it hasn't bent. The blade, it surprised me. I didn't think it would last that long, but I think I only paid $18 for it. I mean, what the heck, just to do a few things, but.
Mine's got like a little tear in the middle of the blade up towards the top. It's actually
stress point
all the way through.
Yeah,
it's stress, but it works. I mean, it doesn't prevent it from doing a plug. I think if I try to pry, that's what happened. I tried to pry a root.
Right. And, that's what. Yeah.
And some rocks too. I mean, there's you don't know how big the rock is sometimes when you start trying to pry on it. It looks kind of small, but then it turns out it's like real long.
Yeah.
But it's I got a mini Predator too. You know, looks like a double shark teeth on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a short, probably, I don't know, 18 inches or more. You know, it's fairly small.
Right.
If you watch the Stealth Diggers, Charlie Digger or Digger Charlie, he uses one of those. But that thing you can't bend that one either. That thing is really sturdy.
Probably can run it over your car and not bend that thing. They're sturdy as heck. I mean, that's one thing I got to hand it to them. They didn't make junk. I tell you, those things are. There's something about quality of build. I can't stand when you use something and it breaks on you in the first couple times out, you know. And just I torture stuff to, you know, if it's going to work, I'll buy another one. You know what I mean? I'd go down and buy another Ames right now and just do it the way, you know, the way I did the last one, because it's, you know, I'm pretty hard on digging tools and stuff. Matter of fact, usually carry 2 to 3 shovels with me, because it always seems like if I don't carry an extra shovel, that's the day the other one will break, you know, so gotta do that.
Yeah.
But anyways, Craig, probably got to wrap it up for tonight, guys. It's about 9:45 already. Just looked up there. Whew, having fun again. But there's a lot of I'm going to have to go back over this show just to look at the chat, because they've been talking about some stuff. And you hear me snickering in the background and stuff. My Ames shovel, and Bill Marshall's telling me I need to get a bungee cord for it or something like that. Ames. I have to read back through a lot of good comments, guys. But thanks for listening, and we're on every Thursday and Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Tell a friend about us. You know, we have a like and a follow button on our shows, and be sure to check out the other shows on Spreaker.com. There's a bunch of them, and I just, you know, pretty much say that because I look at a lot of these shows myself and listen to them. A lot of good information on, a lot of fun times, and you have the other metal detecting shows on all week long, and you can check them out on Spreaker.com. But Craig, we'll do it again on Thursday. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, maybe I'll get some hunting in. I just want it to cool down just a few degrees. I haven't found a portable air conditioner yet, so. But at any rate, guys, you have a good night, guys. If you get a chance, get out there and keep digging, and God bless.